Sam Schuman was not what you would have called a gambling man, but he did bet on the New York State Lottery. How many people here bet on the New York State Lottery? A good number, so you know how it works, but even more who don't, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to explain to you how it works. You pick six numbers between 1 and 59, and you buy a lottery ticket. Right on the lottery ticket, it shows the six numbers. Twice a week, there's a drawing. Your ticket is good for just the next drawing. The New York State Division of the Lottery selects at random 7 numbers. If your numbers match, you win the jackpot. Now, it doesn't always happen that there's a winner. And so, in that case, the jackpot rolls over into the next drawing, and if there still isn't a winner, it rolls into the next drawing. So sometimes the jackpot grows to be several millions of dollars. Some people only bet on the lottery when the jackpot gets to be really huge. Okay, so how many of you are in that category? A good many people want to be in there regularly. And they're down at the newspaper stand once a week, maybe twice a week. They buy 1 or maybe more tickets. How many people are you in that category? You just don't want to admit it.
My wife is sitting behind me.
Your secret is safe with me. Now, a few people are so engaged by the lottery that they want to make certain that they're in the game in every drawing. And so some of them, of course, go down to the newspaper stand twice a week to get the ticket, but that can be a real bother. So some of them buy a subscription. You can buy a subscription to the New York State Lottery. Sam Schuman was in that category. He had an annual subscription so that he would be entered automatically every week. I was home, this was back when I was still in college, some time ago, and I was home visiting, and he and I went off on a drive in the car, father and son driving along, talking about every which thing, just like when I was a kid. I don't remember where we were going, nor do I remember how the subject came up, but he told me about his secret method for selecting lottery numbers. Some people, have certain lucky numbers, and those lucky numbers they bet on all the time. Other folks have some kind of system. I remember once seeing in a newspaper stand a little booklet over the cashier, how to select winning lottery numbers, and in this booklet it described a method you could use to extract lucky numbers right out of the daily newspaper. Only $1.50. Some people, perhaps somebody in this room, bets on family anniversaries and birth dates. Sam Schuman, he confided in me his secret method that day as we were driving along in his car. He said, I bet on my favorite Psalms. I was surprised, but I thought that was a really interesting method. Who else would think of such a thing? This was clever. Now, I wasn't really much of a psalm reader myself, but I was so intrigued by this that I made note of those numbers just the same. Years went by and by until at the age of 84, he died. He died, and for the next 11 months, every day, I found myself reading those 6 psalms. Like I said, I wasn't much of a psalm reader, and I had never talked about psalms with my father. I didn't know that he was much of a psalm reader, but here I was every day finding myself reading these 6 psalms. And it didn't take very long before I started to wonder, why? Why did he have favorite psalms? How does a person get to have favorite psalms? it had never occurred to me to ask him, but here I was reading them every day and wondering, so I speculated. Perhaps I thought at various times in his life, some particular psalm would take on special meaning, help him out. So I tried to recall all the stories that he had ever told about his life, and he had told a great many stories. In fact, my sisters and I used to complain, Dad, we heard that story 100 times. We used to complain, and here I was trying to remember them. Perhaps when this event occurred, maybe that's when this psalm became a favorite. And maybe during that crisis, this psalm took on special meaning. Maybe at that time, this psalm, I tried to match them up, but of course there was no way I could corroborate my theory. So I wondered, why? Why were these his favorite psalms? I was the executor of his estate, and so all the mail that was sent to him was forwarded to me. One day as I was sorting through a particularly large bundle of mail, my eyes fixed upon an envelope with the return address from the New York State Division of the Lottery. Immediately, my mind leapt to the possibility that perhaps the Psalms had won. And right here in this envelope might be a prize check. And I thought, what a fitting tribute to a virtuous man to have his Psalms win the lottery. I was really excited about this, but I forced myself to remain calm. And with a steady hand, I sat down in my chair and I tucked it in up close to the desk. I laid that envelope flat on the blotter. I picked up my letter opener, the wooden one with the carved handle and the polished, smooth blade. I inserted the tip underneath the flap, that part where there's no glue, and I just glided it through, steady hand, laid the letter opener aside. I picked up that envelope, withdrew the contents, opened it up, and right there in my hands, no, it wasn't a prize check. It was a renewal notice. Right there in the upper right of the renewal form, in bold block numerals, were 6 numbers. It said, you want to renew this subscription, here's your numbers, just send it right back in. 6 numbers. To anyone else, 6 numbers. But to me, they were my father's favorite psalms. And they represented the stories of a lifetime. And they were about to expire. I had never before in my life, not even once, bet on the New York State Lottery. But I renewed that subscription. And I've renewed it every year since, for now the past 13 years, still waiting for the Psalms to win. Invariably, whenever I tell this story, people come around, they ask, so what were your father's favorite Psalms? I don't know. If he were still alive, I suppose it's possible he might tell you. But he was the sort of person who would more likely turn your question around and instead ask you, what are your favorite Psalms? And if you wouldn't mind me adding, perhaps you could explain why.